Hello and welcome to the next part of our life. Last time we went on a road trip. And yeah, I had some fun teasing cover and I hoped it won't be the last time. So, next let's choose growing. Early one afternoon you found yourself in the living room with your family. It was another one of those summer days where it felt too hot to go outside, but it was too uncomfortable to do anything inside either. The air conditioner was cranked up as far as you could negotiate it, but everyone was still being pretty lazy. Oh, at least you have air conditioner. At least it's a thing that you can have in your homes. For air conditioning is an absolute luxury in Germany. You, your moms and sister were lunging around while the TV blared on in the backdrop, ignored by all of you. You specifically were draped over the coffee table fits the best, I would say. I am tempted to choose lying spread eagle on the carpet, but the carpet is not gonna help with the heat. Absolutely not. So let's not do that. The first it had been nice and cool to the touch at first, but now your skin was sticking to it. Elizabeth broke the silence with a loud groan. You glanced over. She was lying on her back over the couch, massaging her calf with one hand. I feel terrible. I'm dying in this house and my legs hurt. Mom looked up from the magazine she'd barely been flipping through and frowned, concerned. Could you have straightened somehow? Elizabeth laid briefly, then flopped into her side with a heavy sigh. I don't know, it just hurts. Oh, sweetheart. Ma got up from her seat at the kitchen table and walked over to your sister. She did a light pat on Elizabeth's shoulder sympathetically. I'm sorry you all have to deal with that. Maybe it's the growing pains? You could be taller by next fall. Elizabeth scoffed. She didn't look impressed by Ma's assessment. I would rather be my heart forever than deal with this. Mom walked over to leaning over the back of the couch. Kids, they grow up so fast. Soon Elizabeth will have a home of her own, maybe even a nice husband and some kids if she feels like it. She sniffled loudly and wiped her eyes, but you could tell it was just a bit. You tilted your head, even though you knew Elizabeth liked guys, it was hard to imagine her with a boyfriend or a husband. She only seemed invested in hanging out with her group of friends, not chasing after boys. Ma must agree with you because she shook her head. Let's not exaggerate, she's still practically a child. But if you ever do pursue romance, Elizabeth, you can come talk to me about it. Definitely, we'll always be willing to lend an ear. Ooh, I don't know if it's something, I don't know. Elizabeth's features contorted in disgust. Yeah. No way, I am not talking to my moms about that. Mom's jaws dropped, and she gasped in an exaggerated display of shock. Her hands came up to rest against her chest. Ma only grinned. She didn't look offended by Elizabeth's quick response at all. It really wouldn't be so bad to come to us. You know what it's like to have a crush on a pretty boy or two. I don't, but I can listen anyway. Moms nodded at her own joke while Ma burst into giggles. They were having a little too much fun at Elizabeth's expense. Elizabeth certainly wasn't feeling the amusement because she rolled her eyes and sat up. I'm going back to my room. I would rather melt alone, thanks. She strolled off towards the staircase, taking the steps two at a time. The mom stared at her, then turned to each other with raised eyebrows. Whoops, looked like we scared her off with all the romance talk. Oh well, we'll get her next time. You watched them titter with some surprise. Obviously your mom's liked women, but you had no idea that Ma liked guys too. Today was the first time you had heard her say something like that. Ma, I always thought you only liked ladies, you like guys too? Mom turned to you, happy to bring you into things now that you're spoken up. She smiled and nodded. That's right, I like both. But I like your mom the most out of everyone, she's special. Ma turned all soft in the corners, like it usually did when she looked at her. She pinched Mom's cheeks slightly. Mom reached up to cup a hand over Ma's. Even Ma stopped pulling her cheek. Their hands remained clasped together. Hui hui.
You're fantastic.
Thanks, Nani. I think most women have charm, but no one can hold a candle to you. Oh, Pamela. Ma beamed, then kissed Mama on the cheek she's been pinching before. Parents are embarrassing. When parents are being all romantic with each other, it is embarrassing. You slouched down as if that would hold you from your side. Why were parents like that? Ma looked back to you, letting Mom's hand go with a brief squeeze. She settled down next to you and Mom followed soon after. You know, I'm also here to listen to you whenever you're ready. That offer isn't just for Elizabeth. Oh boy. She bumped her shoulder with yours, a reassuring smile in place. There's no rush, of course. You can take all the time you need to figure out what or who you want.
It's okay.
Don't think you have to stick with whatever you come with right now, either. Life's nice like that. You can change and you can learn. Mom nodded her agreement. The two of us are happy to hear you out, and we may be able to relate better than you think. Still, we won't push the topic, at least most of the time. She gave Mo the weakest gaping look possible while being unable to stop grinning. I would rather pass on all that.
It's no trouble.
Of course, we just wanted to make sure you knew that we're always here. Mom let out another exaggerated sniffle. Didn't take a genius to realize it was fake. First Elizabeth and now you, Rina, do you have to grow up? Yes, children tend to do that from time to time. Your parents quickly grew absorbed in their conversations about rearing kids. You took that as your cue to leave, getting up so you could spend some time alone in your room too. They let you go without problems, so you made your way up to the stairs. Flee! Flee! Run away! You let out a sigh once you stepped into your room. It was just as sweltering in there as it was in the living room, possibly even a little warmer. You couldn't even open your window since it was hotter outside, so you would just let the AC out. You have an AC in your room. You dragged your feet as you crossed the room. You checked your current sweltering condition in the mirror as you passed by it. You thought back to the conversation you had before about growing up and all that. After a moment you stepped a bit closer to the mirror. You stared into it, then turned away from the surface to look down at yourself. You were definitely growing, alright. It was weird thinking about how you were now in comparison to what you've been when you were younger. When it came to your body, it... I guess chubby fits it best. Wouldn't call myself really slender, though I'm also not really fat, so... especially not scrawny. You shifted to the side, your head still facing forward and continuing the self-evaluation from this viewpoint. Interesting thing to... What you were born as impacted the way your body grew, but it wasn't what really determined who you were. When it came to your figure, no, I'm really... okay, okay. 13, right? 13, that was the age, right? I pretty much looked the same way when I was 13 as I do now, so there was no mistaking it. Even with your shirt helping to obscure your form, you had boobs now. It's weird to say this. You took a step backwards, finishing your impromptu inspection. You had locked eyes with your reflection, cocking your head to the side, all things considered. Neutral. You tilted your head over the opposite side, but you still couldn't find anything to have much of an opinion on. You shook your head roughly, putting the thoughts of what you were turning into out of your mind. This wasn't a time to focus on such things, you had to find something to do in this heat. You shuffled over to your bed, collapsing into the mattress. Your brows scrunched up in thought. Time passed slowly, and to your annoyance, possible ideas about what to do were few and far between. You weren't sure how long it had been, but eventually you heard your mom call you from downstairs. Rina, there's a call for you. Cover wants to come over, is that right? You perked up at the word, sitting up in bed. You yelled back to her immediately. Yeah! You got up to your feet and headed downstairs, eager to see your friend. You needed to go downstairs soon anyway, because your empty stomach told you it was almost time for lunch. Just as you reached the bottom of the stairs, you saw Mom put the phone back on the receiver. She glanced at Mal, leaning her hip against the kitchen counter.
Pickle.
Well, here comes trouble. We better prepare ourselves. Mom clicked her tongue in clear disapproval of Mom's words. He's such a good boy. Cover never wants to cause trouble. He can just be a bit thoughtless and impulsive. Oh, I know, he's very sweet, but what makes it more of a problem? If a stranger or some kid from school was egging Rina on to behave badly, I think we can both agree that they would do the right thing in the end. But if Cover Holden got into a reckless mood and wanted Rina to be a part of the ride, can we really be certain of what call they would make then? I can always say with certainty I would not go the path of where I would most certainly get a severe scolding. So I would never turn too bad. I would never make a super bad decision, so...
Sweet dreams.
Yes, I think so. Rina helps Cover settle down. He would have gotten himself in even more trouble without them.
Thanks.
You have a point. Ma just laughed. She turned away, still snorting. Her eyes met yours. She blinked in surprise, then waved at you with an easy grin. Mom looked over, noticing you at the foot of the stairs as well. Oh, I didn't expect you to come down already, Arena. I just wanted to let you know what was happening. You called Mom out on her comment. Well, if I hadn't come now, then I wouldn't have heard anything you said. Oh, you caught me, Pam.
What?
What? You were saying things too. I didn't say anything I wouldn't have told Rina directly. Oh, you're unbelievable. You shook your head at your parents, even as you felt a blush when you remembered what they had just been discussing. Alright, you got me. I'm sorry for being gossipy and saying that about your friend. I can be bad too.
Let's go.
We'll get out of your way now. Mom sighed in mock defeat and made her way down the hall. Ma followed after her with a hushed giggle. Now you were alone in the living room, tasked with waiting for Cover. And that was just fine with you. If it hadn't been so hot outside, you would have visited him at his house a long time ago. You took a seat at the kitchen counter and settled in for the wait. As expected, there was a knock on the door a few minutes later. When you got up and answered it, your neighbor was standing on the other side. He came in once you stepped inside to let him pass, giving him a little wave. You greeted him as you typically did. It depends. I would not give a hug in the seat. No. That would be torture. I like waving at people. You waved back, closing the door behind him with your free hand. Carver sighed and wiped his face a bit. You noticed the sheen of sweat across his brow. He must have been glad to be back in an air-conditioned place, even if he only had to walk across the street to get there. Is something going on? Why you wanna come over? I don't wanna do anything not when it's like this. He gestured vaguely to the humid air hanging around. I thought I could at least do nothing with you. It makes sense. You might have done the same thing. Have you had lunch yet? I was gonna do it soon. He shook his head.
Not really.
I haven't really felt like eating because of the heat. Wait, wrong voice. I haven't really felt like eating because of the heat. I probably should have lunch. I didn't have breakfast this morning. I'm someone who always eats breakfast, so you really gotta eat something now. You urged Cover in the direction of the kitchen. He stumbled after you. Okay. As one, you headed into the kitchen. You crossed your arms as you glanced around, wondering what you would scotch up for a meal. Nothing warm, please. I don't want to eat anything that's warmed up. Is there something cold or not cooked? Absolutely. After a bit of back and forth, the two of you concluded that you should raid the fridge and cabinet in order to make sandwiches. Good choice. With that settled, you had planned to decide on the outside layers first. There was a wide variety to choose from since everyone in the house had their own favorites. There was white bread, wheat bread, sourdough, mixed grains, gluten-free bread, pita pockets.
Hey.
Could you take the could you take the grain ones for me? Sure. You reached for the mixed grains, then made your decision. I like white bread. You pulled out the white bread too, setting two items onto the counter. Then you had to decide what main direction the sandwich would go in. Sweeter style? What's a sweeter style of sandwich? Like with more sugar and stuff? Like dessert? No. Something savory would make it feel like a real meal. As for specific ingredients... You guys sure have ideas for... cheese? Pickles. Ham. And that's it. At most lettuce too, but nah, this is enough. After the finishing touch, you intended to top your sandwich with mayonnaise. And that's it. You nodded to yourself with a quiet hum, satisfied. The two of you bustled around the kitchen, opening and closing things in order to collect everything you needed for your individual sandwiches. You focused intently on assembling your own for the most part. When you were close to being done, though, you glanced over at your neighbor. Carver was putting his sandwich together delicately, his brow furrowed and tongue sticking out just barely. There were open jars of peanut butter and honey near his plate, as well as a banana peel. Ooh. So he was making a peanut butter, banana and honey sandwich mixed on mixed grain bread. That sounds like quite something. Though not something I would have on a hot day. I mean, it does sound kinda great. Maybe you would have one yourself a different time. Curiosity sated, you turned back to your plate and finished your own creation. By the time you were done, Cole had already cleaned up his workstation. He turned to face you, studying your sandwich briefly. A small smile tugged at the corners of his mouth. You guessed it didn't look inedible, inedible to him at least. Well, I picked a very normal sandwich. I would have been surprised if he said like anything like, ew, what's that? Done? Yeah. Cool. He waited as you quickly returned the ingredients and cleaned a few utensils. Then the two of you collected your respective plates. You both agreed on heading upstairs to hang out in your room. You and Cover entered your bedroom while balancing your food on the plates. Nothing fell, so it was a successful trip. Cover took a seat on the ground, stretching out on the hardwood floor in an attempt to keep a bit cooler. He immediately took a big bite of the sandwich, chewed, and then hummed happily. The sandwich is really good, at least that's something. At this point you sat down and started your own sandwich. It's a normal sandwich. I would not make something I'm not sure I would enjoy. I'm a picky eater, sadly. Obviously you were a pro at making sandwiches, of course. I mean, it's a normal sandwich. He leaned back on his hands while chewing and glanced around. His every movement was sluggish, of course, in this weather. Wanna do something? He seemed to plan of not doing anything at all had already worn thin, despite his lack of enthusiasm. Like what? He rolled his head back, looking up at the ceiling. What about tic-tac-toe? It is a funny suggestion. You put your plate to the side and pulled out some markers and scrap paper. You laid everything on the floor. He scooted back to make more room in front of you. Corbett picked up one of the markers with his right hand, while keeping a half slice of sandwich in his left. I wanna be X, so you can go first. I think that's fair. Okay, that works for me. You prepared to note down your first move, your marker hovering over the paper. I'm very sorry, Cover, but... After the first round, you were about to take another bite out of your sandwich when a thought occurred to you. I wonder if anyone turned off the TV downstairs. The TV, it was on earlier, but no one was really watching. Then everyone started leaving the living room. I know I didn't turn it off. It might still be on downstairs with no one there. Cover smiled crookedly at that. For a show, playing with no one's around to enjoy it. What was it? He squinted off into the middle distance, trying to recall the show's name. I feel like it was some kind of crime-solving drama? Corbin nodded sleepily. His eyes closed, then opened again with some effort. Can you give any specifics? Maybe I can guess it. Well... You rested your chin on an open palm, groggily thinking as hard as you could. I remember there was a woman with long blonde hair, I think. She was the one solving crimes, like a detective or something. There were scenes in a police station because someone got arrested. You lapsed into silence, the both of you thoughtful. Then Corvus chuckled. It wasn't that funny, but you joined in the laughter anyway. I don't know what that is. Me neither, and I just saw it. There was like... Another round came and went, and Corver grumbled as he readjusted himself. His features were twisted in a grimace. I feel so sticky. I'm gonna be stuck to this floor forever now. You can be my new roomie if you want. He smiled slightly at your joking suggestion. That wouldn't be so bad. You couldn't help but smile too, now that you thought about it. Being roommates with Kovu would be fun. Then you return to the game. You fell into my trap. Kovu spoke up once more, catching your attention. He was peering down at a piece of paper between you, his expression thoughtful. You know, tic-tac-toe is such a weird name for a game. What does it even mean? Yeah, I guess they played it with ticks and tags, maybe. Cover raised a skeptical brow. You bit back a laugh in feigned seriousness. It makes sense, cause they probably didn't have paper and markers back then. But what about the toes? You couldn't say anything to that. He had you there, with no answers to be found. You returned to the game. Well, well, my boy. Ooh, you won. Were you even trying? Not really. He smiled at you in an amused way. You somehow weren't surprised by that, despite Cover being the one who suggested the game in the first place. He started to yawn, his hand coming up to cover his mouth. It quickly transitioned into a small laugh. You understood why. Yawning was just as he said was... yawning just as he said he was feeling disinterested was kind of funny coincidence. Doing any of these is kinda nah. Cover just grinned and flopped into his bag, leaving his marker on the floor beside him. You stayed seated, looking your friend over as he stretched himself out. You really are tall now. Cover snickered a bit at the random topic. He propped himself up into his elbows to meet your gaze. Why are you bringing that up? You shrugged. It made perfect sense to you to bring it up. My moms were talking about me and Elizabeth growing up, getting bigger and stuff. Don't ask. You don't want to know. What kind of stuff? What kind of stuff? Well, Mom only likes women, Ma likes women too, but not just women. Women. Yeah? Since the two of you were engaged in conversation, Koval got back into a sitting position. He brought a knee up and rested his arm on top of it. A wistful expression overtook his face. I wonder when I'll know how I feel about that kind of thing. You don't know? Koval shook his head. I've heard at some point you're supposed to start liking types of people, guys or girls or whatever.
I don't know.
But I haven't, nothing's changed. Maybe I have to grow up more. Maybe you just don't like anybody, or maybe you like all types of people, that's normal too. Koval seemed to appreciate that thought, if the smile that appeared on his lips was any indication. Or, okay, what about you? Who do you like? He turned his attention to you, looking encouraging. Yeah, pretty much. But specifically when it came to how you felt towards boys... Yeah, that's about it, pretty much. That's a very difficult question. I think this one fits. For people who aren't exclusively male or female. You returned your attention to Koval. He was waiting patiently for your response. I mean, why not? He nodded understandingly at your attempt to describe how you felt. It was nice to have people who supported you when it came to who you liked. Hmm. Growing up asexual, you don't really... It's a difficult topic. So it's more like, you can't just say, ah yes, you knew he accepts you the way you are. That's too optimistic. Hey, what do you think about how I am? Hmm? I'm not the Jenna people thought I was when I was first born. Oh. You held your breath as Corvo processed what you asked. I think everyone is different when it comes to how they are, and they're different in different ways. That's nice. It was a very simple statement, but you felt good hearing it all the same. What are you thinking about it? I mean, are you okay? He leaned in a bit closer and peered into your face. It seemed that your question might have made Corvo start to worry about you. I'm not sure. The look of concern remained on Corvo's face, but he nodded. Thanks for telling me, Rina. I want to listen to you about what you're feeling and everything, if I can. Yeah, I'm glad you do. He answered quietly, but it was heartfelt. You're welcome. Then he scratched the back of his head sheepishly. I'm not really sure how we ended up talking about all that when we started out just playing tic-tac-toe. But it was good, I think. The conversation had a mind of its own. Corvo chuckled a little bashfully. He glanced around and clearly scrambling for something else to say. So, have you read any new books recently? Yeah, actually, I'm really glad you brought it up. The conversation took a lighter turn after that, and it felt like you got closer that afternoon. Finally, the blazing sun began to set. To your relief, the air cooled down a bit as a result. You pulled yourself off the floor, as did Corvo, with some minor complaint. You both stretched your arms, groaning and yawning into your hands. You glanced out the window briefly, taking in the soft reds, pinks, and purples of the late afternoon sky. Somehow you had made it through the scorching hot day in one piece. Corvo turned towards you, motioning towards your window with his chin. Wanna go outside? It might be better out there than it is here now. Sounds good. I could really use some fresh air. The two of you took your time heading downstairs. You stopped briefly to grab a drink of water, then continued on your way. You stepped outside, one after the other, your destination being the familiar hills behind your house. This time of day it was quiet outside. The flowers blew gently in the wind, petals trembling but stubbornly hanging in there. You felt the breeze cool your heated skin, and you relaxed your shoulders. Corvo closed his eyes, releasing a deep breath. I really love it out here. Your opinion sure has changed since you were first on the hill. Corvo chuckled, not even attempting to deny your words. A beat passed, but his gaze didn't stray from your own. His voice was impossibly soft when he spoke up again. Oh god, now you're... Do you want to kill me now, boy? I'm glad I met you, Rina. You're really important to me, you know? I am not good with cheesy stuff. I am not good with cheesy stuff, even if it's meant 100% seriously. Possibly even... that's even worse. That's even worse. You hoped that your reaction wasn't obvious, but it must have been, because the smile grew at the corners. Then Corvo rested an arm on one of your shoulders, leaning against you. Even as the sun disappeared completely, the sky darkened. You and Cover remained side by side for as long as you possibly could. So, and I would say this is where we, yeah, put an end for today. Next time we will do the last event and yeah. So, see you next time. Bye.